Hey guys, Thyworm here, this time with a video on why I play Solo Self-Found and why this could be the game mode for you. Solo Self-Found, as the term suggests, makes the game completely revolve around you, and it eliminates dependencies on other people to trade with, that is. It is all you. You only get to use what you manage to loot or craft. As a result, Solo Self-Found makes you invested in Path of Exile in all its aspects, without any distractions. I don't have any problems really with trade, but trade, while it is convenient in terms of acquiring gear, and that is of course the beauty of trade, at the same time narrows what Path of Exile can be about, for better or worse. But it's hard to deny that trade makes the game revolve around trading, rather than around actually getting immersed in gameplay, the world, or other plans you might make in Rayclast. Trading is the center of Trade League, and as a result, the game's top priority becomes making currency. Look up any endgame strategy and they all involve how many divines you can make an hour. Ironically, if you and a bunch of others actually follow that strategy, it becomes less effective. Economics 101. But at the end of the day, Path of Exile Trade League is about efficiency in making as much currency as possible, so you can afford gear with sometimes ever rising prices. The whole PoE economy is quite an elegant and beautiful system. I am not an anti-trade Andy. I've played trade myself for many years, farming headhunters and whatnot, but what trade did to me and what it does to many other players is make the game very one-dimensional. No matter how many content creators tell you to just have fun in the endgame and play whatever you want, there's always that voice in the back of your head telling you you're missing out on those sweet divine orbs. You're actively delaying the moment you buy that mage blood. It doesn't feel good. It's that one-dimensional reality, that focus on making currency, that made me decide to try Solo Self-Found many years ago. And if you feel the same way, you should really give it a go. But not before I'm telling you all about the differences. Some are very obvious, others are maybe not that obvious at all. Solo Self-Found clearly doesn't allow for trade, which has multiple consequences, both good and bad. I'll be doing a deep dive in all of these consequences, starting with the cons. First off, something you'll notice quite quickly is that even common unique items can take a week to drop in Solo Self-Found. Drop rates are RNG after all. In trade, you would have whispered 8 people that sold the damn thing for 1 Chaos Orb, and when the 7th person replied, you have your item. In Solo Self-Found, you can have unlocked your entire Atlas passive tree without having seen that one unique item that you want. As a knockoff effect, a lot of builds that are viable in trade are not viable in Solo Self-Found anymore. In particular, when it comes to League starters. Playing Solo Self-Found severely limits the build options you have. It can be difficult to properly assess if a build is viable for SSF. Not all build creators play SSF, or at least not enough, but still make remarks that their build is viable, while it requires 3 unique items to even work. Be mindful of builds with uniques in them, especially jewels or rare cluster jewels with 3 passives. Those can be a total pain to get in Solo Self-Found. Build creators that understand Solo Self-Found and its limitations and make true statements about their builds regarding SSF are content creators like Belstron, Crouching Tuna and Rutu. Secondly, you have to find your own loot. That is not a con in itself, of course, it's the whole point, some might argue, of SSF. I would argue that at least. But the result is that it will take you much longer to reach the same power level of a build compared to trade, because you have to do content to get all the gear. Solo Self-Found draws out the game, and for some people that is a con. For me, it's not, but if you have very little time to play, like a few hours per week, Solo Self-Found may not be a great choice. These two things, less build variety and builds taking longer to get online, are the only 2 realistic downsides of Solo Self-Found that are commonly agreed upon. It's hard to argue with this, honestly. These are basically just facts. But then we get into the good stuff. Stuff that isn't just facts, but my subjective view on SSF, my deep appreciation for this game mode. This is the reason why I am making this video, because I feel Solo Self-Found is very much underrated. So here are a bunch of pros from my end. First, we are now in 3.24 Necropolis League, and while this is almost never mentioned, Path of Exile has become increasingly more friendly towards solo self-found. The developers are actively making our SSF lives easier. Let me give you some examples. 3.20 added a bunch of awakened gems in the Maven's drop pool and to bosses that she witnessed. Trade hardly did anything with this, but in solo self-found, getting awakened support gems from simply running map bosses and Maven invites is a very welcome change. The same league made it much easier to get ailment immunity, for example with jewels. That's also quite something in solo self-found. 3.21 made the Abyss spawn a Stygian Spire above the ground, dropping Abyss jewels and a Stygian Vice. Seems like a small change, maybe, but you're getting that great belt a lot faster now due to this, and plenty of them as well for crafting. And this league, they made it possible to use harvest crafting to change a Shaper or Elder fragment into its counterpart. That is purely a change for SSF, and it is much appreciated, shaving off hours of the time it takes to complete that Maven invitation. Add to all of that the different new divination cards and the overall move and the overall direction towards a more deterministic ARPG, plus introducing fun gambly elements like the Voidborn reliquary keys, and all of these things combined greatly benefit solo self-found. Second, while solo self-found limits you in your build variety, it also opens the game in pretty much any other aspect. For starters, the whole making currency idea is gone, meaning you can enjoy the game and all it has to offer. And as it turns out, there is a lot on offer, some of which you would never touch in trade, but in solo self-found, certain endgame mechanics are the only way to get certain items. So you venture out, clear that content, and get rewarded with the items that you require, at some point at least. Each endgame system has its purpose, and solo self-found lets you play the systems for what they are designed to do. I can't find the clip anymore, but a few years ago in a podcast, I believe Bakelast, Chris Wilson himself said that solo self-found is the best way to play Path of Exile, because you get to experience basically everything the game has to offer. For example, if you want a specific replica unique, you take the heist nodes on the Atlas passive tree, you farm up contracts and blueprints, get your rogues up to snuff, you may even create a specific character to run content like heist and delve, and then you do the actual endgame system. It is the only way to get a replica unique after all, barring one divination card. Another example, for my SRS Guardian last league, I needed a +1 Spectre chest, and those only drop from the minion nodes in Delve. So yet again, I spec'd the Eldless into the Delve nodes, farmed up some Sulfite for the card, I went delving, did some bosses while I was down there, I got my Doriani's map for the challenge, ran that while I was at it, and at some point I did indeed find a +1 Spectre chest, crafted a bit on that chest, and it's such a nice feeling to have to play the game to get your gear. To set a target for yourself, pursue that target, plan, and ultimately get rewarded. As soon as you manage to let go of the idea that playing the game is about efficiency and instead can be about having fun, something that is a lot easier to do in solo self-found as there is no pressure of making currency, you will realize either one of two things regarding endgame systems. One, some endgame content that you didn't enjoy previously might be more enjoyable now that you have a tangible reason to farm that content, like that +1 Spectre chest in Delve. And who knows, Delve may grow on you by interacting with it for a specific reason rather than farming it for currency. And two, while there are, for example, at league start more efficient ways to gear your character by using Expedition and Betrayal, you have decided by playing solo self-found you're going to take more time anyway to get geared up. You can totally skip systems that you don't enjoy in a lot of cases without feeling bad about it. I know Expedition is good for gearing league starters, but I just don't enjoy the mechanic too much. Same for Harvest. So I simply don't do them that much. It's completely fine. Third, which is a result of the second argument, solo self-found makes you appreciate how well designed these endgame systems are, and once you understand how to leverage them, they're a lot of fun to interact with. There is always something to grind for in SSF after all, as you will need to get everything yourself, whether it is unlocking all the maps on the Atlas, or getting your 5-way map device by completing a tier 17 map, or getting the Void Stones or the Maven invitations. There's so much to do. PoE endgame has so much to offer, and with currency out of the way, you start appreciating those endgame systems for their content and design, rather than how many divs per hour they grant. You're free to experiment, free to choose anything you want, without having the feeling you're being punished for not running the most currency efficient endgame system. Sure, sometimes you will encounter systems you have to run and you really don't like it happens. Looking at you, tier 17 content, but yeah, that is just the way it is. With so much content available, there will be some stuff you're not going to like, but I feel the other 90% is typically very enjoyable. Fourth, SSF is likely the most chill game mode. There is no fear of missing out on anything. All the drama regarding PoE balancing and nerfs tends to be trade related because they nerfed Shaper implicit in tier 17 maps, for example, or the economy is messed up due to a few scarabs. That's content you're not very likely to run to begin with, and most of the changes done once the league has started involves juiced up completely bonkers strategies with unintended synergies. You're not running this content in SSF, you just don't have the materials. As a result, all this drama doesn't affect you at all. In fact, very little of what is going on in this regard affects you, as mid-league changes to builds are pretty much non-existent these days. Sure, they may tweak some systems like the graveyard at the start of the league, but the impact on you in SSF is limited. Plus, those changes greatly benefited SSF players if you can stomach to participate in gravecrafting, that is. That's something for another video, however. My point is, SSF is chill. There's no time pressure, there's no currency pressure, it is just you. It doesn't matter if it takes you 2 weeks or 2 months, you are progressing at your own pace, and that is all you are concerned about in Solo Self-Found. It is a beautiful mindset. Also, a dead trade league at some point has no impact on you, nor are you getting annoyed because people don't respond to whispers. Finally, Solo Self-Found gives you a better understanding of the game. You'll have the wiki open a lot more, as you can't just follow a currency farming strategy without really understanding what's even going on. If you want to get a certain item, you must figure out how. And the Path of Exile wiki is an incredible resource, super well written, and it has taught me a lot over the years. Stuff that most trade players have no knowledge about whatsoever because they've never encountered the mechanic or never did that specific content or boss, because it was never profitable. It's fun, it makes you feel like you're learning new things rather than grinding away repetitively doing the same content over and over again, because that is the profitable way to go, because that makes the most divines per hour. Some decisions also become more conscious, such as the moment you're going for your first Maven kill for the invitation, right, for the keystone. It takes a while in Solo Self-Found to gather all the required fragments, so you better have a build that kills her. Wasting 6 portals on the Maven because your build simply wasn't up to the task is a hard lesson that Solo Self-Found will teach you, but you will likely never forget it. To conclude this video, I hope I've given you some reasons to try out Solo Self-Found, given some perspective, while also being honest about the downsides of it. And if you really dislike it, you can always migrate the character to trade. I've been enjoying Solo Self-Found for many years now. I've recently made the decision to focus more on making content around it, as I'm simply enjoying SSF so much, and then it's much easier to make content. And I would like to share that joy and the insights that I'm getting with all of you. Path of Exile is a game very close to my heart. It is my favorite ARPG by far. It may be my favorite game in general for a few years now. Even with leagues that aren't as popular, I put in hundreds of hours because it is Solo Self-Found. Things take a little bit longer and I am enjoying the game mode. I'm enjoying the progress and ultimately how beautifully crafted this game is by the developers at Grinding Gear Games. If you want to see more PoE SSF content, please subscribe. As always, thanks for watching and making it to the end. Love you all. See you soon. Bye bye.